guys, it's Emily, and today I'm going to be filming my wrap-up for February, March, and April. February, I read a total of, I think around 10 books, maybe 11 books. And then I read 3 books in March, and I've read 2 books in April. So I haven't been reading a whole lot, but, you know, I'm in the past couple of months, but, I decided to share all the books that I have been reading recently, which is like, I think, 16 books? Or no, 15 books. 15 books. We're going to talk about them all today, because I've been behind on this, so I'm just like going to combine them all into one video. The first book I read in February was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. This is the first book in the Grisha trilogy. Follows our main character, Alina, who is this normal girl, and I think she works in like the army or something like that. And she ends up finding out that she's like a Grisha, and the Grisha are like these powerful people. I feel like most people know what this book's about or have read this book and have seen it all over BookTube, so I don't need to quite explain it, but so because I'm not explaining it that well. I ended up giving this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I read this for my Goodreads video, which if you still haven't checked out, I will link down below in the cards. You'll see it somewhere. This book I really enjoyed more than I don't know, I was hoping I'd like this book, and I really did end up liking this book. I feel like I have some unpopular opinions about this book because a lot of people don't like Mal, and I really like Mal just because he's the best friend character, and I'm really a sucker for best friend relationships. I don't know if there's something that happens in like the second book that makes people like not like Mal, because I don't really understand why they don't like Mal. Like, why? I think it's like a lot of people like the Darkling in this book, and I've heard so many things about the Darkling, and I do see the hype, but he's also evil and heartless. So, I don't really see a lot else between them besides their physical relationship at this point, but, you know, I could be wrong. So, we'll see how this story goes, where it ends, how it ends up. I'm excited to read the rest of the books in this series. I really like this one, but if you want to see more of my in-depth thoughts on it, definitely go check out my Goodreads video, because I go and talk about it a lot more in there. And the next book I read is The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli. This book is about this girl named Molly, and she kind of has always had like these unrequited crushes, like 25 of them or something like that, and she kind of blames it a lot on her weight, and she just kind of feels like no one's gonna love her, especially when like everyone around her is like dating somebody, so she kind of feels a little lonely. And there's this guy, this dorky nerd, he's so cute, who works at this store with her co-worker, Reed, who's like a dork, and he's awkward as well, and it's just like a love story, and it's super cute, and I really liked it. I really enjoyed Molly's character. I really liked the love story. I think there was parts of it I could relate to. It was a fun, lighthearted, happy read. There was also a really nice family relationship. I really liked the relationship that Molly had with her twin sister Cassie. I thought that was really sweet to see, and just like Molly's whole family was just like so fun. I think the only thing that like I kind of disliked about this book is I feel like there was like a lot of cussing, and I just don't really like cussing in general. Like if it's to a minimum, like I'm pretty okay with it, but I feel like there was like a lot of it in this book, so I just felt like it was kind of too much. Then we have Love Me, Love Me Not, Volume 1, which is the first volume in this manga series that has been translated. I received an art from this from NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley for supplying me with this art. I really liked it. I gave this book 4 stars. This is about these 2 girls, and they're kind of opposites, but they end up becoming like really good to best friends, and they're both like, there's both these love stories. So one of the girls likes her friend's brother, and the other girl, it seems like she's gonna like her friend's best friend. So I'm really excited to see where this series is gonna go. This is kind of just like a starter to introduce you to the characters, but I really enjoyed it. There was a plot twist at the end that I was not expecting at all, and I'm excited to read the next volume. I think that comes out in May, so I'm going to pick that up as soon as I can, because I'm so excited to read more from the series. I really liked it. I really liked the friendships was probably my favorite, but the friendship between the 2 girls was probably my favorite part of the book. I thought that was so sweet, and I just really like them like, you know, supporting one another. Like, it was so sweet. I loved it. The next book I read was Love Letters to the Dead by Ava Delaria. This book I read for my Goodreads challenge, and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. This book follows a girl named Laurel, and she basically, this whole story is told in letters to dead celebrities and stuff like that. So like Kurt Cobain was like the main one. I think she mentioned Amelia Earhart, Julie Garland, just a few names to throw out there. And she's kind of grieving her sister May. And so she's tasked for an English assignment to write a letter to a dead person, and she, you know, like, it's kind of gonna lead to the whole, you can kind of probably tell where the story's going. It's a lot about grief and like dealing with that. I think it does a good job, essentially, I think, of what it was trying to do. However, I'm not a fan of sad books. I really don't like hard-hitting contemporaries. I did read this for my Goodreads videos, the final book I read for that video, so I just was not a fan of this one. I was hoping I would be, sadly not. I think originally I didn't like the love interest character, but I think as the story went on, I liked him more, and I think it didn't necessarily go in the direction I was expecting it to with him. And I think at the end where they left off, I think I really liked that place. Some people might disagree with me. Not spoil it. There was like an uncomfortable incident thing, and it's kind of brushed off, and it's not really talked about, where somebody tries to kiss her, and it's someone she's close to, and it's not okay, and she's freaked out, but it was never addressed, and it was more used towards another plot line, and I wasn't okay with that. I just think it was problematic, but overall, I really just don't really like reading sad, depressing books, and this was a sad, depressing book, and even though it could do some good things, I feel like I was really boring most of the time. I kind of started skimming through it towards the end. I was pretty bored. I didn't really like this book, and I'm glad to be done with it. Then we have Kiss Him, Not Me by Jungkook. This is the first volume in the Kiss Him, Not Me series. This is one of the weirdest things I have ever read. This book, manga, follows this girl who is like a fangirl, so I was like, that's cool. Overweight, and she is fine. Like, her body image didn't seem to ever matter to her, so I do like that part of the beginning. And she kind of just likes to ship people together rather than with herself. And so then her favorite character in this anime dies, and she's so upset about it. She's crying for like a week straight, and hasn't left her room for a week straight, and all of a sudden she's skinny. And then it was like, and then all the boys start to notice her, and like all of a sudden she's like all these like suitors like interested in her, but she's kind of like shipping them with other people. So it's interesting. I feel like it was really fun to read at the same time, even though it was trash in a way as well. It's entertaining if you're looking for a guilty pleasure thing. This would be it. There's one guy I really do ship her with, and I'm pretty sure she ends up with him. This guy liked her before she lost all the weight, and I just really appreciate that. And he's also the sweetest on her, and he he understands her, and he's so supportive of her, and I really like him. I don't remember his name, but I really like him. He's a sweetie pie. There was this one scene where she like had like a, what's it called, like a shrine, I think, towards her character, and they all, like, the boys had come over, and they all had found it, and some of them were like, surprised, and he was like taking it all so seriously. He's like, oh, is this guy important to you? And she was like, yeah. And he's like, well, I'll have like a moment of silence for him. And it was just really cute. I'm like, my heart. He's like a cinnamon roll. And I love how sweet he is, and kind and caring. So they make me happy, so I'm going to continue on with the manga series for them. I think the only thing I don't really like about so far is the way it has treated body image. So hopefully that improves within the next volumes in the series. We'll see where this goes. I gave it 3 stars. Then I read The Bride Test by Helen Huang. This book is about this girl named Esme and this guy named Kai, and Esme lives in Vietnam, and she kind of has, like, she's kind of poor in Vietnam. It's not the best place for her. She has a kid. She's living with her mom, I believe, and she's working as a maid, and this woman comes up to her and is like, I need someone to, marry my son. Like, he's not really, like, going after romance or anything like that, but, like, she just really wants her son to have a wife, and so she ends up letting Esme she thinks Esme is perfect for him, so she flies Esme out to California and tells her she's going to live with Kai, and Kai is autistic and he has Asperger's, and he is uncomfortable with this whole thing. He's like, no, I don't want this woman in my space, like, no. They end up living together, even though he says no, and they develop a romance, and it's so sweet, and I loved it. I really loved this story. I was on, like, a high of happiness while I was reading it. I just think it was so well told. It was so well done. It was such a sweet, cute love story. I was addicted to it the whole time. I listened to, like, majority of it in one night. I listened to the audiobook of it, and I just really liked the story. I thought it was so fun. I really liked the characters, and I felt like they really suited one another, and they were just great together. And just, like, it was great. It's also own voices, as the author is autistic and has Asperger's, if I'm correct. This is the second book in the Kiss Quotient series. I was more interested in this one than the Kiss Quotient. I really like her writing style, and I'm definitely going to pick up more books in the series. There's one about Quan coming out in, like, 2021, like a year from now, but I'm so hyped for that. Like, I can't wait. We have The Arrival by Shouldnt. This book I read for class. It's a picture book, and it's told completely through pictures. There's no text. It follows this guy who is immigrating to a new country, and it's kind of really putting you in his shoes about immigration. The pictures make you, like, it looks like a weird place, and everything's so different from your world, or whatever, like, where you came from, and it's kind of just, like, him, like, learning and, you know, like, accepting this new normal and stuff like that, and just how things can be so weird and confusing when you go to a new country that's so different from your own. I think it was so well told and well done in the way it was presented to you that you could really feel and be in the main character's shoes. I gave it 4 stars. I thought it was good. Then we have Emergency Contact by Mary H.K. Choi. This book is about this girl named Penny and this boy. His name is Sam. Penny is currently off at school, and she's taking screenwriting. She wants to become a screenwriter. Sam is living in this cafe that he works at. He wants to be a director, but he just does not have the money to do so. They end up kind of meeting, but they meet, like, and then they meet on another occasion where, like, Sam's having a panic attack, and they end up exchanging numbers and becoming each other's emergency contact, which ends up starting a whole texting online relationship, and then, you know, becomes something more. I really love this book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I felt this book was so adorable and sweet. I really rooted for the characters to get together. There's just something about online relationships, or, like having a texting relationship, that I just love so much. I don't know what it is, but I just love relationships like that. It lived up to my hype and expectations. I was hyping this book up quite a lot for myself, and I'm glad that I really ended up loving this book. I thought it was well told. A lot of people do not like this book. I know there's a lot out there. I think it's more slice of life in the sense. Not a lot necessarily happens to drive the plot, but it's just about these two characters who fall for one another. There's complications in that, and then, like, what else is going on in their lives, because a lot of the time they're separated and it's about their own lives and stuff like that, but there's also, you know, the romance aspect. I thought this book was really well done. I really liked it, and I'm definitely going to pick up more by Mary H.K. Choi. Then I read My Hero Academia, which is the first volume in My Hero Academia series. I've been wanting to get to this series for a long time, and I'm glad I finally got to it. I don't really have a whole lot of thoughts in this, but it's basically about this boy named Deku, I think, and he lives in this world where, like, basically everyone's been given and born with powers, and then, like, they try to become, like, superheroes and go to this, or supervillains and go to this, like, superhero school or whatever, and Deku really wants to become a superhero, but he doesn't have powers. He wasn't born with a gift until his favorite superhero decides to help him out and kind of give him his powers or whatever. It's a super cool story. I really liked it. I'm excited to pick up the next volumes, which I don't have yet, but I thought this was really good. I see what the hype's about, but I don't really have a lot more to say besides that. I think it's just good, and I need to watch the anime as well. Then I have All the Invisible Things by Orgula Collins. This book I received as an ARC from NetGalley, so thank you to NetGalley for providing me with this ARC. This book is about this girl who was best friends with this guy, and then they moved away from each other and they kind of lost contact, and then when she moves back to see him, things have kind of you know, changed, I guess. It's a lot about them reconnecting, and then there's some other plot lines that go on as well. I really think this is mainly about the friendship. Like, that is what this story is. There's not technically, even though, like, there is kind of, like, in the synopsis, a romance, there's not a romance, just in case that's what you're looking for, not what this is. I wasn't looking for that. I was excited about the best friend relationship. I thought, for the most part, it did a good job at that. There was some weird things, like, for example, when they first met each other, like, reconnected, it was just, like, this really weird experience, and it didn't make sense. It was just, like, they looked at each other, and then, like, he wanted her to get in the car, and then they got in the car, and then, like, they drove somewhere. I don't really remember all of it, but it was really weird, and it didn't make any sense to me when I read it. I'm like, what just happened? I'm so confused. And there was also a weird kiss between our two best friend characters, even though their relationship was platonic the entire time. It kind of felt, I was kind of confused by it, like, they had, like, a platonic kiss, and I'm sorry, but there's no such thing as a platonic kiss. I have male friends, I would not kiss any of them. Like, a platonic kiss is not a thing. Please don't make your platonic characters kiss each other. For the most part, I feel like these characters were not realistic, in some capacity. There were some things that I just didn't really want to read about, and I'm like, TMI. But other than that, I think that it also did open my eyes at the same time. Or not open my eyes, but it, I think, is also a really important book at the same time. I think it does talk about a lot of good struggles that I feel like aren't talked about enough. It does go into addiction and stuff like that, and there's an addiction in here that I've never seen in, like, not literature, not TV, like, no sense of, like, fictional story have I ever heard someone talk about this sort of addiction. So in that sense, I find this book is important, and I really like how the two our main characters, Helvetica and Pez, leaned on one another throughout that, and, you know, like, he leaned on her and she leaned on him, and, like, they were just really supportive of one another. I liked their friendship. So other than that, though, it was kind of just an okay book. I kind of wanted to finish it for the most part, and I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I think it's still an important book to read, so if you are interested in it at all, would pick it up, and, you know, I think it does talk about some good stuff in a good way. The next book I actually have here for once, and that is Room by Emma Donoghue. I read this book for school. We had to choose, like, a lit circle book, so this was the one I ended up choosing and getting into. This book follows Ma and Jack, and they are being held in captivity, except it is from Jack, her Ma's 5-year-old son's point of view. This story is heartbreaking, and you're really rooting for the characters. Thought it was super well told. It's from a 5-year-old's perspective, and it really puts you inside the head of the 5-year-olds, and it's so well done. I don't think this book would have been as good had it been from Ma's perspective, as much as I love her. I think this book is so great from Jack's perspective, because he really, like, he makes, I feel like, it easier to read about, because he's such, like, a lighthearted, happy 5-year-old kid that he's not, like, he notices things, but he's not exactly comprehending them. Like, he's comprehending them in his own way without completely knowing what's going on. I highly recommend it. I gave it, I think, a 4, what did I give it? I think I gave it 4 stars. I was surprised, that I enjoy this in a sense, because it's not something I usually pick up. I picked it up for class. That was the main reason I picked it up. It was a good book, and I highly recommend it. The next book I read was Every Reason We Shouldn't by Sarah Fujimura, something like that. You can see it on here's the title on the cover right here. This book is about skating. It's about this girl, and her parents own this skating rink, and this guy is who's like a professional speed skater or something. He's starting to practice and train there, and he's getting, like, their skating rink a lot of money, but, like, then there's, like, a love story going on between them, and it's just a really cute story. I really enjoyed it. I think, it wrapped up things super well. I really loved all of the characters, and I really, this book made me really smiley. You really rooted for the characters, and, like, you wanted them to achieve their dreams. There were just, like, some really sweet moments. There were some cute friendship moments. The skating was so fun. I loved reading a book about skating. I loved that. I think the only thing that I wished was that this book was longer. I think it was a bit rushed towards the end, and it kind of, like, wrapped things up really quickly. It's just, like, a very fun, lighthearted, happy book. So if you're looking for, like, a lighthearted, happy, fluffy contemporary, would recommend this one. and I gave it 4 stars. I don't know if I said that. 4 stars. Hello, Emily editing from the future. So I was editing this video and I realized my footage of when I talked about the next 2 books was somehow, I guess it didn't record, it didn't save, so I'm just gonna refilm that part now. Basically, both these books I read in my 48-hour reading vlog, so you can check that out if you want to see me while I'm reading these books. The first book I read in that vlog was The Rebel Bowel by Rachel Hawkins. This is the first book in the Rebel Bowel trilogy. This book was a reread for me. It follows a girl named Harper who is the most popular girl in school. She has like the most popular boyfriend. She is like is she head cheerleader? I don't know if she's head cheerleader. But like, you know, she's like, I think the president or something of the school. She's a cool gal. She gets straight A's, and on the night of her homecoming dance, she is in the bathroom as she's applying this like lip gloss because she realized she wasn't wearing any lipstick. So she puts the lip gloss on when all of a sudden her janitor comes in and he's bleeding to death and dying, and he basically kisses Harper and then just dies, and she's like, okay, well that was really weird. And to make things weirder, her history teacher comes in and is trying to kill her, and under normal circumstances, Harper would probably die. But all of a sudden she has these like ninja-like powers, and she kills her history teacher with her shoe and walks to the bathroom being like, what the frick just happened? The story follows her, and the story goes from there. I don't think I need to explain more because otherwise like it's more spoilery territory, but it's a good book. I highly recommend it. It's a reread. I go more in depth into my thoughts in the vlog, but I gave it 5 stars once again because I love this book so much. The other book I completed in that vlog was The Unnie Mooners by Christina Lauren. This book follows 2 characters that both hate each other, but they are like the brother and sister of the groom and bride. At the wedding, everyone's at the wedding seems to get food poisoning. The sister of the bride and the brother of the groom end up going on the bride and groom's honeymoon. The 2 of them can't stand each other. They absolutely hate one another, but they both want to go on the vacation, so they end up going on the honeymoon, and it's a fun time. It's a hate-to-love romance, and I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 3.75. The story definitely got better as it went along. I enjoyed the plotline, I enjoyed the romance between the characters, and I really like Christina Lauren, their writing style. I like the way that they write the books, so I definitely want to pick up more of their books in the future. This one I really enjoyed, so I liked it. Also, the cover is adorable, so I love this cover. Now moving back on to Emily of the past. So the last 2 books are from the Patchwork Family series, and they were the only 2 books I read in April. But the first book is More Than Meets the Eye by Karen Whittemire. This book follows this girl named Evangeline, and Evangeline is an orphan. Her brother was killed in a train accident when she was little, and since then these 2 other orphans, Zach and Seth, have kind of taken them under a wing, and they've become her brothers. They've, like, years later, they're like living in this house, I think on a farm or something like that, and this guy, Logan Fowler, he has some beef with Evangeline's brother Zach, because years ago there was this gambling thing that happened, and he's come to get revenge on Zach. But then he meets Evangeline, and there's a love story. I was disappointed by this book. I was so disappointed. So disappointed. I did not like this. I'm so disappointed. I love Karen Whittemire books. If you haven't seen me talk about them, I feel like I don't talk about Karen Whittemire that much, but I have really enjoyed a lot of her books in the past. I think all of the books I had read up until this point, I have really enjoyed, but I don't know, I feel like once you've read one Karen Whittemire, you've basically read them all. Kind of start repeating after a while. There's a similarity and a pattern that kind of happens after that. I wasn't crazy about this book. I found a lot of problematic elements. It's not anything special compared to any of her other books. Like, I feel like it's just all the same at this point. I feel like it didn't really stand out. Like, it was just kind of a normal, boring love story. While the plot was interesting and did keep me interested the whole time, I got through this fairly quickly. It's gotta be, like, one of my least favorite Karen Whittemires I've ever read. I really liked Evangeline. However, I did not like Logan. He kind of fell flat. He was just, like, I mean, besides the whole revenge plotline, I didn't really know. He was pretty one-dimensional for the most part. I felt like there was, like, not a lot about him besides, like, his thing for revenge, and then when he meets Evie and he likes Evie, it's just a whole weird thing. I wasn't crazy about it. Like, they're together, but, like, he can't get this revenge thing off his mind. I mean, like, he does improve later on in the story, but, like, he's just, he expected Evie to be on his side and to go against her brother and get revenge on him. I'm like, bruh, like, you do realize you're hurting Evie when you do this. I think he did realize it later on in the story, but, I don't know, I just felt like I didn't really feel for him, I didn't care for him, he was just strongly okay. There is this situation, like, it seems like in a lot of Karen Winnemeyer books, there's usually some girl who needs the main character's help, whether she's, like, younger than her, or she's, like, her best friend, or she's close to her in some way. There's always some girl, and there's, like, a side plot line with this girl, and this time it was this deaf girl. There was some deaf rep in here. I don't know how accurate it is, so I'm not going to speak on that, but there was this whole plot line with her and this guy who is trying to kill her. She kind of ends up falling for Evangeline's brother Seth. Even though that was great, I think it was unnecessary to the story. Like, the whole plotline of this story was the fact that Logan has come to get revenge on the family, or something like that, but then, you know, like, he meets Evangeline and falls for her, but I feel like this, like, became, like, the bigger plotline of the book. Seth and this girl should have gotten their own book. I think that should have been the second book in the series, and then the third book, you know, Zach is doing his own thing. I think this should have been its own book and its own plotline. I think it would have succeeded much more at doing that than whatever it was trying to do, because I felt like it really took away from the actual plotline, and I just didn't think it needed to be there. Overall, I gave this book 3 stars, which I feel like was quite generous, I think because I quite like Karen Winnemeyer, but I am disappointed by this book. If you thought that book was disappointing, wait till you hear about the second book in the series, More Than Words Can Say. This book follows Zach, who was one of the brothers in the first book of the series. He's moved to this new town, and this girl who is a baker, whose name is Abigail, and Abigail is running a bakery until all of a sudden the mayor or whatever of the town is like, psych, women can't run bakeries or businesses by themselves. So she has 2 options. She can either sell her business, or she can get, like, a male business partner. She decides to go with option 3, get married. Jack is a guy who comes into her cafe and orders sticky buns, and she decides that this is the guy she's going to marry so she can keep her cafe open, or her bakery open. He ends up deciding to marry her, and it's kind of, like, I guess about that for the most part. This book is like a marriage of convenience situation, which I thought I really liked, because I really do like the marriage of convenience trope. Sadly, this one did not work for me. I think at the beginning it was looking like it was going to be the better book of the series. However, that was not the case. I found Zach to be problematic. I feel like all the love interests are problematic. They just rub me the wrong way. I don't know what it is, but they rub me the wrong way. Like, logistically and reasonably, I get it. In a sense, it's just not what I wanted to hear. But, like, with the marriage thing, he's like, oh, like, I want, like, first of all, the characters can't even say the word sex. I don't know if it's because it's a Christian novel, but, like, they can't say the word sex, and I'm like, why not? Y'all are adults, okay? I don't know if it's because it was just, like, a scandal to say back in those times or something. Getting married, and he's like, I want to have, like, if we get married, and, like, I want to have, like, physical relations with you. I don't know about the kids thing, but I want to have physical relations with you, which I guess is a reasonable request. But the way he kind of said it just rubbed me the wrong way. After they got married, he's like, oh, I want a good night kiss every night, and, like, you said in your vows that, like, you have to obey me, so I want this. And, like, she did it, and, like, they made it, like, oh, she was fine with it, but it's still kind of, like, I get they're man and wife, and, you know, and I felt like their relationship was more physical than actually emotional. To that point, I felt like there wasn't really a lot of development in their emotional relationship. I feel like they didn't really get to know one another. She was upset because there was this whole rumor going around about Zach and Abigail's sister being together or something like that, and she was kind of upset about that, and he's like, oh no, like, you're the one I like, I would marry you, like, I wouldn't marry anyone else, like, I'd only marry you. And then when he's trying to compliment her, he's just literally talking about her physical appearance. He, like, knows nothing about her, but then, like, all of a sudden the characters love each other at the end of the book, and you're like, wait, when? Like, what do they love about each other that's not, like, physical appearance? Because I feel like there's, like, when in a romance novel, like, I'm reading that, Like, I want to hear about, like, what the emotional part, especially because I'm a very emotional person, like, I really want to hear, like, the emotional aspects and what, like, emotionally you love about this person. I feel like I wasn't getting that from this book. I gave this book a 2.5. Overall, those are all the 15 books? There's a counter somewhere on the screen of the correct number if it's not 15. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a big fat thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more of this lovely face, and I will talk to you all soon in a new video. Goodbye!
Like you really